challenges this year physically that were all overcome through the guidance and the determination of Hannah and Brendan. Our scheduled travel through the guidance of Mr. Dreisbach and Gina Mahalik provide us with bus drivers that safely got our athletes to and from where they need to be. In support, we were experiencing a pep rally this year prior to the state championship, organized by Mr. Moniz and Mr. Drake, who led us through the halls as we passed through students and staff, showing support for the young ladies, the band, the cheerleaders, the step team, and all parents and fellow peers in support of our goal. The Parkland TV and film under the direction of Jay Greth. The Trojan Pack, not only were they there to support, we had over 100 student athletes or students themselves supporting these young ladies in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, wearing white shirts and gold medals around their necks, and were dignified in their support of the efforts of these young ladies. I was fortunate enough to have supportive parents who raise their children the right way, committing of themselves to the betterment of the group. Our managers, Chase and Matthew, there every day as much as they could, but it could not be done without these coaches to my right. Our JV coach, Kelly Robertson, and our volunteers, Jesse Crazley, Taylor Krause, Kristen Krause, and Leah Brunbed, all former players and graduates of this great school district. And most importantly, I ask the young ladies of the team, please stand momentarily. Please take a look at these fine young ladies. And I mean young ladies because the dimensions that they bring to this school are outstanding. Thank you, ladies. These young ladies were recognized as the #1 team in the Mid-Atlantic region, 5 states and the District of Columbia. They were recognized all season as the #1 team in the state of Pennsylvania. Never once was that more important to them than being together to improve themselves once they enter the gym to when they leave. This outstanding group of young student athletes together worked to achieve a goal to represent this community, you the board, the principals, administrators, and the community, the parents, all of you from Parkland, demonstrating the pride to represent anyone and everyone with class, dignity, and integrity. Wherever they played, they demonstrated respect for their opponents, game officials, and supporters of the other teams. This team was unselfish, unsung heroes. The girls that got a limited amount of times in competition, but gave of themselves every day to strengthen the ability of this team to compete at the highest level. The athletes that competed on the floor for Parkland up against the greatest challenges, showing no quit, just pride and determination. Parkland School District, an environment where you can pursue your academic ambitions and align them with your collective interests to achieve at the highest level possible, existed for these young ladies because of you. Because of Parkland, they had a chance to pursue their dreams. They had a chance to pursue their dreams together. This is Parkland. This group represents Parkland pride. They succeed in the gym, but that doesn't limit who they are as people. This collective group of young ladies, their average GPA, and I apologize for that stat, their average team GPA, 4.0. 4.0. And we wonder where these individual learners, empowered by this district to collaboratively achieve their goals. This picture coming up on the board will say it all. There's a picture of our 5 outstanding senior leaders, role models of academic academics, athletics, and team. Their last journey, returning to the locker room for the last time in a Parkland uniform. Returning with aching hearts as we arrived back from Mechanicsburg, as we got outscored in that state final. They're aching hearts because they realized the relationships they developed here at Parkland, the evolution of the Parkland student athlete, the Parkland volleyball experience, together for the last time physically, but with Parkland pride, forever spiritually. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce these young ladies to this community. Ladies, come on, please, when I call your name. Ava Brunend. Sarah Fury. Allie Reimer. Maddie Siggins. Maddie had a rush over from basketball practice, but we're sure glad we got her here. Maggie Smith. Alexa Barton. Jackie Fakula. Kamira Hoover. Scarlett Jago. Harshini Malapidi. Ella Purcell. Lucy Scheller. Hannah Vrabel. Every year you go in, and we fall under the leadership of our senior class. This senior class endured 2 years of COVID. This senior class had a shortened schedule their junior year, and their senior year, unfortunately because of COVID, we're going to have the opportunity to experience a trip down to Florida to play in the East Coast Championships in Orlando. It was taken away because of COVID. Safety protocols. How kids respond, this season says it all. These 5 seniors are going to move on and represent our community as they pursue their academic interests and extend their career education. But ladies and gentlemen, they're adults now. What they endured and what they did is lead us to achieve greatness as people, as student athletes, and as sisters. 5 seniors. Bryn Dreisbach. Sydney Esquieres. Sydney Johnston. Emma Stolzis is unavailable to be here due to illness. And Meredith Steyer. You cannot do this alone. I have been so privileged to have outstanding people that care more about others and guiding them to be the best that they can be, while unselfishly committing their free time to help Parkland. Taylor Krause. Kristen Krause isn't here, but she's her sister, so I'm sure she'll pick her certificate up for her. Jesse Crazley. Kelly Robertson. And Leah Brunbed. Ladies and gentlemen, the Parkland School District made them who they are. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being a part of this community. And thank you for being you.
Congratulations, girls. I know they want to take a picture with everybody out there, so thank you very much for being here, and congratulations.
decided to wear my tall boots tonight, there's a lot of height in that crowd. Okay, we're going to continue the meeting then. Item number 5, report of executive sessions. Are there any? Thank you. Moving on to public comment on agenda items. Okay, we have got one. Jared Coleman. And please remember the same rules apply in the regular meeting as did for the board viewers. Is that, we're asked and we are limited to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to address the board, specifically School Director Bush, regarding your votes on funding of charter schools and cyber schools. I'm pleading to you, while the board and the district is severely limited by the capacity of the board, until we have a full board seated, I'm asking you to consider voting yes on accounts payable to all charter and cyber schools. I know that it's been your position in the past to not vote in favor of these, along with Board Director Cohen. I'm just concerned that due to the makeup of the board now, a member is sick, and we get close on the majority here, that perhaps the cyber schools would not be funded. People choose cyber schools for all different reasons. They choose charter schools for all different reasons. And if we have a good enough school here, it shouldn't threaten us one bit. We shouldn't be worried about it. We should be concerned about what we're doing at Parkland, and people should want to come here. But I am pleading to you to reconsider the vote to approve the accounts payable to the charter schools. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving into item number 7, Personal and Finance Committee. I'm going to ask Mrs. Tashiana to take this one this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Ross. We have item 7.01, the personnel items. The first item, resignations or retirements. We have A through L. Request for FMLA, and we need to make a correction to the agenda. I noticed it says ABD, it should actually be ABC. We can make that change. Request for sabbatical leave of absence, item A. Request for extension of child rearing leave of absence, item A. And employment of personnel, items A through M. Also, the approval of day-to-day substitute list, which is attached, and I make a motion to approve these items.
Thank you. Have a second. Second. Thank you. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And our next item is 7.02. This is the second reading and approval of the following board policy 006, which is local board procedures and meetings, and it is attached, and I make a motion to approve this item.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Tashiana. Moving into reports, you still have the floor.
Thank you. The Parkland Foundation, I do have one announcement to make. I think I mentioned, for anybody that was here at the last meeting, the Parkland Education Foundation is selling a holiday gift card sale. It's for staff members. You can order it online on the Parkland website under the foundation page. There are $10 gift cards there to, on the card, it's Philly Pretzel, use your choices. Car Wash at Broadway, Jack Jonas, or Biagio's. You can order the items online and have them delivered with a personal message to any staff member in the Parkland School District. The cutoff date is December 13th. The foundation does receive 50% of the profit, so it's a nice fundraiser and a really nice way to thank staff around the holidays. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any other reports this evening? Okay, that will move us into approval of accounts payable. If I could have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
President Hyde, I'd like to, President Ross, please say hi. As has been addressed tonight, I typically vote in favor of all but cyber charter schools. And I'd like to address why. We were all elected, in a sense, to safeguard public funds, to ensure that the money is being spent wisely and effectively. I've had family members that have attended personally cyber charter schools, and it's been a total utter failure. Lack of transparency, lack of accountability. Also, specifically in Allentown, there have been charter schools that have purchased buildings, that have been renting out space to businesses that are making money, yet we're still required to fork over a portion of our tax dollars, and I don't think that's right. I really don't. And for that reason, President Roth, I will be voting against the cyber charter schools tonight as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Duly noted. All right. Any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That motion carries on the accounts payable. Moving into item number 10 on the agenda, public comment on non-agenda items. We do have several this evening. First one is Mr. Jim, is it Vince?
Yes, no, I have nothing to say.
Oh, okay, fine, all right. Moving along to Jessica, sorry, Doyle, there it is, Doyle, yes, sorry about that.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Doyle. I just have a few brief comments. One was, I'm confused. I still don't understand why the board members that were elected are not seated or able to participate in these important nominations and elections. And if you're recessing, why aren't you postponing those things? I just don't understand that. The other comment I have is I'm concerned about the masking of our children and grandchildren. And I'm confused as to the data that's used to determine that the children need to be masked. Is it county data? It seems like it's county data. And why isn't the data regarding cases just limited to the Parkland School District? So that's a question I have, and would like to know if someone can give me an answer to that or get back to me about that. And lastly, and I have weighed in on this in the past, but it continues to concern me for my grandchildren and for all children in the district. I think it's beautiful and wonderful with the volleyball team, and I couldn't be happier for students succeeding, which I think is every parent, grandparent's biggest wish. But this overarching ideology that seems to be pervasive in public schools throughout the country is very troubling. And I asked for Parkland to be transparent with their parents and concerned citizens as to the training and the curriculum, the training for staff and for the curriculum, so that every child, K through 12, gets equal treatment and equal opportunities. Nothing is more important than that. And so I'm asking that simply, that there be transparency as to the training to the staff, as well as the curricula that our children and grandchildren experience, so that parents can know exactly what their kids are learning, and that they can be confident, or in my case, grandparents, can be confident that every child has equal opportunity and equal treatment. So that's my plea to the board. I also would like to know the data that's used for the masking, and I would like to understand further why, for example, the elected board members would not weigh in on these nominations and voting for important positions on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Block?
Hi, Christine Block. I'm just here just to talk again about small changes that we can do at Parkland School District that again means the world to little ones. I have a 5-year-old, she's in kindergarten. Every day at lunch, she goes to lunch and she sits facing the wall, 3 feet apart from her friends. I remember not too long ago when you misbehaved in school, you didn't finish your homework, a consequence for not following the rules was a silent lunch or sitting facing the wall or lunch alone. That was the consequence. And now what once was a consequence is an everyday occurrence. And I know that's not what's happening at high school. In high school, kids are moving tables, they're moving chairs, there's no social distancing. These little ones, they're following the rules, they're trying really hard, but it's hard. My daughter's favorite day is Tuesdays because the reading specialist reads to her during lunch. And she comes home so happy those days because we got to hear a good book. Lunch was so much fun. Other than that, lunch is in the gym and it's cold and it's boring. On another note, I just feel like our little kids are going through a lot. It was brought to my attention that the middle school and the high school students, they have had in-person winter concerts, but the 5th grade concerts are all virtual. And I know there's a lot of reasons. Space is an issue, time is an issue. But what does it say to these 5th graders that they get a virtual concert instead of performing to their parents when mom and dad could go see their older brother or sister, or we could all go see the Moana show, which was fabulous. We could do other things. What does this tell them? Their last normal year of school was they were in 2nd grade. They might have been looking forward to this for 3 years, and now it's virtual. It's just not the same. So I'm just asking to please look at these small changes we could make school warm, to make it inviting, and to find ways where we can bring back some normalcy for our kids, because they are suffering. And anyone who says that they aren't, you haven't been to an elementary school seeing all the kids face the wall during lunch. And nobody here, Thanksgiving dinner, ate facing a wall 3 feet away from their family. Please, let's think of what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice Fancy?
Hi. So I'm here today to ask you to please take a revote or vote again on the policy so we can remove the forced masking mandate and adopt an optional masking plan or procedure, hopefully as soon as possible. As for the current school board policy, athletes or students in attendance of school events outside can be standing right next to each other without the need of masks. Yet, socially distanced, in a classroom, myself and my fellow choral and musical performers must block our airways and our instruments. Masks block our audience's ability to see our full facial expressions as we try to tell them a story that they can't properly hear, and masks deprive us of the oxygen we need in order to create the best quality sound for their enjoyment. The crowd can perform in a room full of maskless people, as we did earlier today, and yet we, the chorale ourselves, must still be masked. Every week I go to church, to work, to youth groups, to the store, grocery, Costco, Kohl's, to my friend's house without a mask, and yet I have to sit through more than 7 hours of school daily with one on. At lunch, we were given guidelines on our masking and seating arrangements. However, there is very little to no enforcement of these guidelines, and the students don't follow them, and the students meaning that students are not keeping their face masks on after they finish eating. Many sit more than the allotted number of people per table, and again, nobody says anything. The only time anything is said is when students go up to go and get something and they don't have a mask on. Other than that, no one really seems to care. So students are around each other and they're around other people everywhere they go, and they can choose whether or not to wear a mask. School is the only place we don't have this choice. I believe myself, like every other student, want this year to be normal again, for the mandates and masking to finally be over. And most people have probably thought, well, that's okay, you're all awfully great for just toughing through it. Well, it's getting harder and harder to tough through it when nothing seems like it's changing. Please. There's no longer a mandate for masking. The courts in Pennsylvania have ruled the mandates unconstitutional. Let us breathe. Let us see each other's faces. Let us perform for each other and smile and laugh and be people. Let the madness that the world has been in for the past 2 years finally be over. I just want a normal senior year. I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but I wanted this school year to be normal. That's all any of the students in your school district are asking for. That's all any of us want. So please change the policy. Please let us have an option. Please. Thank you.
Sharon Coleman?
Good evening. I would first like to ask if anyone can comment on how the students are selected for the volleyball team. Are they selected because of their skill? And does every student in Parkland have a shot to be on the Parkland volleyball team? I think we can just get back. I just want to make sure every student in Parkland has the ability to be on the team if they want to. Solicitor Miller, I was wondering if you could give us your opinion on if you thought that what your advice would be to Parkland after the mandate disappears, if it would be similar to your advice to Northampton School District, that you believe masks should be optional?
I'll answer the questions after all the public comments.
Okay.
But just so I understand the question, once the mandate ends,
Yes, sir.
what will be my advice?
Correct. To be optional or to default to the tiered option, which is very unrealistic. So that was my question for you, Solicitor Miller. For Dr. Madsen, my question is, I believe that you have the ability to unilaterally alter the health and safety plan without board approval. I'm just asking if you could make the data. The case rates are just, it's so tight, it's more like a cliff. It's not really a tier, it's such a cliff. We need to be realistic. If we stay under these metrics, kids will never have, they'll be masked for the long future. And so I'm wondering if you could alter that to have the county data. Every tier is and or. So once you get to a fourth level of and or on criteria, it's extremely restrictive. I'm just wondering, Parkland's over 70 square miles. My children, if they went to Veterans Memorial, they may never see someone in southern Lehigh. There may be an outbreak of coronavirus in southern Lehigh, and they'll never see my children. I'm not sure why my children have to be penalized, or the data for your determination is based on such a huge pool. And so I'm just asking for you perhaps to consider amending the health and safety plan. Should Solicitor Miller's advice be to revert back to your health and safety plan and force mandate masks here, if you could potentially allow the health and safety plan to be modified to allow cases specific to the Parkland School District. And that's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Backenberg? Or do you have a waiver for the mask?
Yes, I do. Good evening. retired lieutenant colonel. I've been in 2 wars. I lived and worked in many countries around the world. I'm a business owner. I'm a mother of 8th grade boys. Their pronouns are they and them, because they are twins. That's a joke, you're supposed to laugh, but it's not very funny. So, I kept our boys enrolled in CCA cyber school because they knew they would be, because I knew they would be subjected to wearing masks at Parkland. I knew that this summer. Can I see a show of hands of who realizes that we are currently under a multifaceted attack by both enemies foreign and domestic? That's encouraging. In a weird sort of way. Turn the TV off and try looking at sources of information you don't normally gravitate to. Talk to people with different points of view. The enemy has been very good at creating division. I feel like someone in Germany before the Nazis took over, trying to convince people of what was building up. Hitler used fear and something called the big lie, along with a litany of other tactics. The big lie is when you tell a lie so big that nobody can believe it's a lie because it's so audacious. Hitler used people of authority and doctors in lab coats to spread his lies. Sound familiar? It's incredulous that something of this magnitude is being pulled off in the age of information, except for the fact that information is controlled at every level. Do you even realize what is being censored? Since when was censoring acceptable? What happened to our First Amendment rights? The common good before the individual good. The common good before the individual quote. The individual good. That quote is from Adolf Hitler. Hillary and Fauci made similar statements. This isn't about the virus or Democrats versus Republicans. This is about the world being taken down to initiate the Great Reset. Look up Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum. Search with DuckDuckGo instead of Google. I challenge you to do your own research. Try searching global protests using DuckDuckGo. The vaccine passports are already gaining a foothold in our major coastal cities.
Thank you, Ms. Acker.
Oh, I have
Are you wrapping it up?
No, yeah, I am. Okay, yeah, I'll make it short. Imagine not being able to buy or sell without a vaccine passport. No end to how many boosters they'll require. I have 4 friends who have various health issues from the vaccine, from myocarditis to women with abnormal bleeding. I know doctors who are afraid of losing their job, so they don't report vaccine injuries or speak up against them. One 20-year-old patient lost all of her hair after getting the vaccine. I cringe when I think about the little children whose parents are forcing them to get it. This is Russian roulette with a needle.
Thank you.
Realize the vaccines and masks are just a small part of what's really going on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the time here to speak with you. So I'm an emergency room physician, here with 15 years experience treating people with COVID in the emergency room. So certainly COVID is serious, resulted in death. But I'm afraid it's caused fear, which at times has affected our logic and reasoning. I'm here to ask the Parkland School Board to vote to make masking optional for all students throughout the district. The CDC has recommended masks for preventing the spread of COVID-19. I have compiled 13 randomized controlled studies that I provided summaries to which show no benefit of masks in stopping the spread of viral illnesses. I'm not here to argue the data tonight. What are we trying to combat and how deadly is this for kids? According to Open Data PA, the statewide deaths for kids aged 5 to 9 in Pennsylvania is 0. For kids aged 10 to 19, it's 20. This is a survival rate of well above 99.99% in kids who get this illness in Pennsylvania. Do masks harm our children? Summarizing a German study from clinical research in cardiology, people are essentially suffocating under the mask and have to work hard to breathe. This makes them excessively tired and hurts them psychologically. It's hard enough for our children to concentrate and learn without the added stress imposed upon them by these masks. A researcher from the University College London points out wearing masks may give a false sense of security and make people stop using other infection control measures. People must avoid touching their masks, otherwise they can spread infection to themselves. In the hospital, masks are put on and not touched for the remainder of their use. But how many times during the day do we touch our masks when we readjust them, take them off to eat, and a multitude of other reasons? Therefore, it's not very effective in the public. Masks make it hard to converse, and we get a lot closer than the 3 feet. Wearing a mask makes the exhaled air go into the eyes, and guess what it's going into the air that everyone else breathes as well. Face masks also allow us to rebreathe our CO2. CO2 makes us breathe deeper. An infected person can bring more viral load down into their lungs, making them sicker. How about psychological effects? Researchers from USC state masking is a psychological stressor for children and disrupts learning. Covering the lower half of the face of both teacher and pupil reduces the ability to communicate. Children lose mimicking expressions, part of nonverbal communication. Laughing and smiling aren't recognized. Negative emotions are amplified. Bonding between teachers and students is difficult. Masking children likely results in anxiety and depression, which are already at pandemic levels. A German study posted January 2021, which studied over 25,000 children, supports these statements. In conclusion, as a school board, we have a responsibility to ensure our children are receiving their education in a safe environment that is not harmful. There is evidence that these masks can and are harming our children, and we are asking that this be an individual choice, as choice is foundational in our American way of life. Thank you so much.
Jackson Finch.
Hello everyone, my name is Jackson Finch. I'm a 4th grader and would be at Kratzer, but I asked my parents to be in school online again this year because of masking. I can't wear a mask and I don't like them at all because I have trouble breathing when I wear one. Please end forced masking. We just want to be kids and have normal class, lunch, and recess. Please stop making us wear masks that we can't breathe in. We can't even see each other's faces. Please let our parents decide for us and make masks optional for all of us. Thank you.
Jaden Whitehill.
Good evening. My name is Jaden Whitehill. I'm a sophomore at Parkland High School, and I would like to ask the board to please make masks optional. I miss when things were normal. This is my 2nd year of online learning, and if masks were optional, I would want to go back to in-person learning and finally get to go to PHS. But I can't stand being in a mask even for a few minutes. It's very hard to breathe in a mask, and as much as I want to be there at school, I just can't handle being in a mask. Please do the right thing like other districts are doing and make masks optional so we can wear them if we want, but aren't forced to. I'm thankful that I get to see my friends pretty regularly outside of school, but it'd be awesome to be able to go to school and not have to worry about wearing a mask if we don't want to. Thank you.
Jaden Finch.
Hi, my name is Katie Finch. I'm a senior this year and decided to do online learning again because I don't want to be forced to wear a mask. There are so many things I've missed that I'll never get back, and I ask that you please make masks optional so we can get back to normal. We all see each other outside of school, at get-togethers, and even at work, where we are mask-free.
So many of us want to just make the choice on our own, and there is absolutely no reason why we can't. It doesn't make sense that only schools and healthcare facilities are requiring them. Please make the right decision and end forced masking today. Thank you.
Josh Finch?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Finch, and I'm coming here to ask you that you please end these unlawful mask mandates against our kids and let them break. We've seen over and over that masking and even the COVID shot does not work to keep COVID out, and unfortunately, COVID isn't going anywhere. We've heard that county data is being used in order to make decisions for our children, and that just makes no sense at all. Please stop using county data and only use district data in your decision-making process. There are several other districts already going back to a mask optional model, and there is no reason Parkland, a leader in our community, isn't doing the same. Please stick to your motto about educating the whole child and end the mask mandates immediately. And I would also like to mention, kind of took away our voice tonight. We voted in officials. They're not sitting here. You guys voted in a president, a vice president. Our elected officials aren't here to even have a vote in that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Rachel Finch?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start out by saying that I tuned in last night to the Business Matters segment on 69 News and was happy to hear Dr. Madsen mention those of us who want normalcy. I watched as the three gentlemen sat closely and didn't have to worry about wearing a mask, and I would love to see our kids treated the same way. Dr. Madsen talked about the concerts that took place, and it made me think about how horrible it would be to stand up there in the heat of those lights with masks on, singing. I know how hot those lights are, and there's no way that was comfortable or even safe for these kids. I also have to mention how many parents are upset about not being able to support their elementary kids at their concerts because they will be virtual. It's sad for the parents and for the kids. I was very excited to hear from a friend on the Northampton School Board that our very own solicitor made a recommendation to go back to a mask optional model once the illegal mandate is lifted. I certainly hope Mr. Miller is advising you all to do the same, especially considering the fact that this illegal mandate was already ruled illegal in the PA Court of Common Pleas. I understand that the data being used within Parkland regarding COVID decisions is county-wide. This is a huge problem and needs to be amended right away. Nazareth School District adopted a tiered plan that uses the data in their very own buildings and does not include the entirety of the county. Lehigh County is huge, and using county data makes the numbers look completely different than they would if only using district data. We have nursing homes, jails, several other school districts. It simply makes no sense to use data from across the entire county. These kids deserve to live their normal lives without these restrictions, without certain teachers hounding them to pull masks up, using valuable class time to correct something that is a non-issue. I've talked to enough staff, parents, and kids to know how the majority feels, and here I stand once again, telling you that your constituents want choice. No one is trying to ban masks. We just want our rights back. Our right to choose what we see fit for our kids, and we also want the rights given back to teachers and staff so they can decide what they see fit for their own health and bodies as well. I've heard firsthand from Parkland bus drivers about how they struggle with the masking while driving their routes and are having a very hard time being told they have to correct the kids while they themselves are so uncomfortable. This may not be the case for all drivers, but ironically, we do happen to have a shortage and are having trouble finding substitutes. Lastly, I asked the board one question, and I'm hoping to get an answer. We, the parents, staff, and citizens of the Parkland School District would like to know, how much money are you getting from St. Luke's between the Education Foundation and every other program, and what impact has this money had on the decisions being made regarding the health and safety plan? Please feel free to reach out to me anytime regarding this matter. It is a very common question among parents and residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mary Marino. I'm here tonight to respectfully request that the board change the health and safety plan for our school district, which will be used to make decisions about our students. The change would include only using Parkland School District building data and not all of Lehigh County data related to COVID-19 infection rates. Regarding the tiered plan, the criteria as it is currently written is extremely restrictive, and it does not realistically give our students a chance to ever get out of mask. Finally, for the record, I am strongly opposed to mask mandates, and I'm in favor of choice for all of our students. One of the most beautiful things about living in the United States of America is our freedom of choice. I hope and pray that we can get back to that time, and that by lifting the mask mandate, we can take just one small step towards preserving that freedom for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the public comment section. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming this evening. And please, I know, we say it at every meeting, and it seems like it's lip service, and it's not. It really isn't. We do take everything under consideration. So, thank you very much. Moving into roundtable. We'll start this evening.
I think it would be appropriate to respond to some of these questions. If we have the time.
And that's fine, if you want to respond to anything right now, I mean, I figured that if normally we respond during our time at roundtable.
Well, we can do that at round table too, again.
No.
Well, let's wait.
Okay, while we're coming off of public comment.
All right.
Thank you.
Do you want to pick a person to go first for round table?
Sounds like you volunteered yourself.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I wasn't necessarily volunteering to go first at round table, but since I'm one, I'll continue. Yeah, when we're able to answer questions based on the public comment, we do so. Sometimes we're not able to do that because we have to research it, we have to consult, we have to ask staff who perhaps are not here. But some of the questions or some of the questions that were asked tonight, I can respond to. I don't want to repeat myself, so what I said earlier still stands in terms of why we didn't have the newly elected and re-elected board members take their seats on the board tonight. However, one thing that was asked is by virtue of us not having them taking their seats on the board tonight, they didn't have an opportunity to vote for the officers for next year, namely the president and vice president. That issue I didn't address earlier, but I will address it now. We had a choice, and this was something we discussed, because we were quite aware of the fact that the newly elected and re-elected board members would not be able to participate in that vote. So we had a choice to either immediately recess the organization meeting and reconvene at a point in time when we were legally able to read the certificates of election, which again we don't have, and to swear the board members in. That was one choice. The other choice was to proceed with that much of the organization meeting as we could accomplish with the board members that are present, which basically makes up 5 people, which happens to be also a quorum for us to be able to conduct business. We went back and forth on this issue and finally opted to decide to do as much as we can of a reorganization meeting. And the reason we did that is because the statute, as I explained earlier, the statute says that we have to organize in the first week of December. So in order to comply as much as we were able to comply with the statute, we thought the best course of action was to move ahead with as much of the organization meeting as we could accomplish and do that in the first week of December. That was the rationale for moving ahead and electing the officers. In terms of the masking order, first of all, the masking order as it stands today is still valid and enforceable. The masking order has come down from the Acting Secretary of Health. It constitutes a law. There are many different kinds of laws. You have the Constitution of Pennsylvania, you have state statutes, you have the federal statutes, you have the federal U.S. Constitution, you have regulations on the federal and state level, and you have what they call executive orders, and we have orders. All that constitutes law. We are a society built from laws. If we didn't have laws, we have anarchy. So some laws we don't like. Some laws we don't like, and there's ways of changing laws that we don't like. The ways of changing laws that we don't like is through multiple avenues. One is the state legislature. They can change laws. Another way to do it is through the courts. And in fact, that's exactly what's occurring right now. There's court actions that are trying to invalidate the Acting Secretary of Health's order that requires masks. In fact, that's going to be argued in front of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court tomorrow. They're going to receive oral arguments. I doubt whether they'll make a decision tomorrow, but they will most likely make that decision. In my opinion, it'll probably be made before January 17th, which is the date that the governor seems to indicate that he indeed might be lifting the masking order. Now, to answer the other part of that question, I believe it was asked, is what happens once the order goes away? Well, Mr. Coleman, I think, already anticipated my answer, because he said in the event Mr. Miller advises the board that in that circumstance, it reverts back to the health and safety plan. Well, you're right. That's exactly what my advice is. That's the advice that I've been consistently giving to school districts that I represent. And that's what happens. It goes back to our local policy, our local health and safety plan, and that's a school board decision. That's not a solicitor's decision. So, I read advice on what the law is and how to comply with what I perceive to be the law of the Commonwealth. The law of the Commonwealth requires a safety and health plan. We have that. The contents of that plan, after that masking order goes away, will be up to our school board. So our school board then makes the decision based on what's contained in that plan. And also, as a corollary to that is, we can't go back to masks being optional until the state order goes away. Because if we do it now, we are violating the state order.
The illegal state
order. It's not an illegal state order until a court rules that way. No, it was not. The courts have gone back and forth. Today, that order is valid and legal.
Why have other school districts opted to change their plan against
If I
the
can have
state?
everyone's attention, please. We have been very cooperative with everyone as everyone spoke, both sides. Please allow the board and the solicitor to also speak at this time.
I think I covered all the questions that I can answer. Hopefully I have. So I'm going to turn the mic over for the floor over to others.
Okay, Mr. Booth.
I just want to take this time to wish everybody a happy holiday.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate it. And that's all. Thank you.
I mean, you're not coming to the next meeting, or what? You're getting to jump on the holiday.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's all I wanted to say this time. Thank you.
Ms. Pacheco.
I want to congratulate, unfortunately they left, I want to congratulate the volleyball players. They're an amazing team. Coach Krause is an amazing inspiration for these kids. I also want to thank, I don't know if everybody got the opportunity to watch the pep rally on the TV studio at the high school. They did stream it live on YouTube. It was phenomenal to watch. It was really very exciting. Just want to wish them lots of luck, especially the 5 seniors that are going on. I am curious to see what their future plans are and whether they're going to attend school. So hopefully we'll hear that through the high school. And I also want to thank everybody else for coming out tonight. I've mentioned it before, there's so many different opinions. We appreciate hearing everyone. So thank you for coming out.
So I wanted to start by thanking Mr. Miller for all the clarification that he provided this evening. And also wanted to say congratulations, even though, again, they left, to the volleyball team. It's a really, really amazing accomplishment. Their record for this evening is incredible. So congrats to them. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, anything this evening? Nothing, thank you. All right, thank you. Mr. Kennedy.
I should have resigned last month, so we wouldn't have had a meeting tonight, we wouldn't have had a quorum. I want to congratulate our girls volleyball team, they did a fantastic job. I did ask Mr. Miller prior to the meeting as to why Southern Lehigh should do what they did, basically because they did have an attorney there, and he did inform me, and I'm well aware of it, that their attorney is not a school solicitor, being an attorney, but Mr. Miller is a school solicitor, and I do value his opinion and his advice. Other than that, a great holiday, and for those that came out and spoke, we do hear you. I believe what you're hearing you say. I won't be here when they make the decision on after the 17th of January, and I'm sure whatever the school board does, it will be the right decision, and hopefully that the majority of the audience gets what they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Yes, it was truly an honor to host and have the volleyball team here this evening. Fantastic, and Coach Krause. I mean, he gets super passionate about it, but you know, he adores that team, and what he does for those girls is nothing short of amazing. I also want to thank Ms. Fasciano for taking the P&F because I got a little weepy at some of the retirements that we had this evening. So Diane Nycom, I just wanted to point that out. I got to know Diane real well. She was over at Fogelsville as the principal over there when my kids were there. And she's just done a phenomenal job for the district. And Ruthie Tice, I mean, you know, who doesn't know Ruthie? She just is wonderful, and, you know, we're certainly going to miss her over there at Citronia and in the district entirely. I go to Ruthie for everything, even if it's not for something with Citronia. She just is a wealth of knowledge, so that, you know, we wish everybody well, and everybody that's on the list of retirement, obviously. You know, we thank them for what they've done to the district and wish them well going forward. That's all I have this evening. I'll turn it over to Dr. Matson.
Great, thank you. I have a couple of comments referencing some of our retirements, so bear with me just for a few minutes, and I certainly have some comments to address in terms of the health safety plan and the other things this evening. And Ms. Ross already talked about a few of these, and I just want to point out because, you know, as I sit up here and I think about the amount of knowledge and experience and time and care that these individuals have provided to the Parkland School District and to education alone, it needs to be said. Diane Nycom, who is 31 years in education, 20 years here in the Parkland School District as a principal and curriculum director, coordinator here for elementary education. Think about the wonderful programs and academic success that this school district has had over the years. Thanks in part to Diane's continuous work and effort here for the school district. So I thank her and I wish her well as she moves forward. In Corinth, 39 years. 39 years. I'm not sure how she took 1 year with Mr. Gomez up at Orville Middle School, but 39 years. And think about the lives impacted and the lives touched that she had. I know she's not here, but I want to thank her for her time to this school district. We already mentioned Ruth Heights, another one, 35 years, and currently as a reading specialist at Citroen. And then Kathleen Dartmouth, 35 years, RTI gifted at Citroen as well. And just amazing the fact that what they have done for this school district, for how many lives that they've touched is really just unbelievable. And I know there's others along the list. I'm going to point out just because we had the volleyball team, but Patrick Burns, who was our boys soccer coach, he recently resigned to pursue some other things with his family. We certainly wish him well, and he had a wonderful run here as our boys soccer coach in the Parkland School District, for Parkland High School, 11 years. His record of 181, 48, and 10, and we wish him well. And he really, again, think about the program where our boys soccer team is and the efforts of him and his assistant coaches in the community. And I just want to wish him well as well. So just going to move on, and bear with me for a couple minutes, because I have a few things prepared, but the way it has played out, Attorney Miller has already shared a few things, actually took a few of my comments, so it will be a little bit briefer. But he already mentioned about the fact that, as many are aware, about the court hearing and the arguments that will be heard tomorrow. So we don't know, will that outcome will that hit us tomorrow? Will it hit us next week? Will it hit us on Thursday? Obviously, nobody knows when we'll get any more information, or will that be January? And so, just like every other school district, we're kind of in a wait and see. And that case certainly is disputed, and the authority of the acting secretary to actually make and impose that type of mandate outside of an emergency declaration, that's what that means. Not specifically what every other individual school district might do based upon what they feel is the right decision for the health, safety, and welfare of all of their student, staff, and the community. So there are differences between that, and I know that personally, the back and forth, the yo-yo effect of what's going to happen doesn't help, right? It doesn't make anybody feel better or more comfortable. So hopefully we'll have an answer. And that's like the first step, right? Everybody wants the final answer. It's hard in the pandemic because everything's back and forth, which also makes it very difficult. And everybody wants a final answer for when that happens. So again, it depends. And I hate to say it that way, but it depends on when that answer comes, right? If it comes tomorrow, we may have one thing that we look at. If it doesn't come until January 17th, maybe we have a different way that we operate and we look at some of the data that we have. Speaking of that, I know that was brought up, which I was going to comment before. I know, Christine, you had mentioned specifically about reviewing the plan. We've talked a couple times, we email back and forth. I know we've had some conversations. I've had conversations with many parents about specific things in our health and safety plan. So certainly masking takes up most of the time, but we have a lot of other mitigation strategies that are in there that we now are evaluating. So we are evaluating all of those factors in the health and safety plan. Everything from recess to social distancing to lunch to masking to what field trip protocols are. All of those things that we had at the beginning of the school year. So we're reviewing those currently right now. And we anticipate that there will be changes to the overall health and safety plan that will be brought back to the board. I don't want to say exactly when, because we're working through that as an administrative team, and we're going to make sure that we share that obviously with the public and the school board. So those things are happening. We not only have heard you, but have also had these discussions. And we also certainly understand there are things that are happening that now, after a couple months into school, we certainly see that, okay, there's areas that we can improve. There's areas that we need to move forward with, and we're working with our administrative staff. Question about data. What data do we follow? What recommendations do we use? So certainly, right now, if the mandate goes away, whenever it does, sooner than later, we fall back to our health and safety. And that does include county data. And it includes, but it does also include Parkland data. So I know that there was a mention of the and or. So we use multiple metrics to try to make a determination. And I just want to try to remind everyone, we internally have reviewed all of these things, but we couldn't make any adjustments based upon the fact that there was the health secretary's manual. When that goes away, we go back to analyzing, evaluating all of the metrics. So on one hand, the Lehigh County data certainly has not been looking very favorable over the past couple of weeks compared to what it was a month ago. Now, we can debate the validity of the data, but it is what it is. We look at the Parkland data, and we can see where that went. So we then, in administration, make recommendations to the board based on the totality of all of that data. It's not one piece alone, it's not one recommendation alone, it's all of that. Again, that is something, the matrix itself, that tiered system, is something we're also evaluating and would anticipate some changes being brought back to the school. Again, I don't want to give you an exact date because a lot of it is dependent on where we are. So certainly know that there are vaccinations for many more people in our school district now. That also is an indicator, that's a helpful indicator in terms of where we move along the tiers. So we hope to continue to look at those metrics, bring more information back to the school board so they can make a complete decision as we move forward. In the interim, if the mandate expires prior to the new year, we will revert back to our health and safety plan. And at that point, make a determination for, were we going to move from one tier to another. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. And I think it's frustrating for everybody. And so we've said this, I've said this before, the board has done a wonderful job of listening. Listening is different than saying, hey, we hear, we listen, and sometimes we all don't get what we want right away. But I can tell you, we have listened, they have listened, the administrators have, the staff has done a wonderful job, the kids have done a wonderful job. We're holding together.
They don't have a choice but to do a good job.
We don't
Thank
have
you.
a choice.
They don't have a choice but to be put in that situation and asked. They don't have a choice but to accommodate what you bully adults.
So I
tell
think
them
that
to do.
as we move forward, we'll be able to try to do that together as we've done from the beginning. And I think we're going to be at a pretty good spot. But changes will become. And I know it's hard for me to say for everyone to continue to be patient and work through this as we do. And I wrote down some things about some other comments. Attorney Miller has already talked about the makeup of the board and the election, and I've spoken to all 4 of our newly elected board members who will be joining us. 2 of them incumbents, 2 new ones. I've spoken to all of them about this situation so that they understood where we were at. And it's certainly, again, frustrating, but this is not the Parkland School District. It's Lehigh County right now that's holding it up. And hopefully we can move forward. I know there was a couple comments about transparency with curriculum and equity, and we've continued to say the same thing. Please reach out. We'll meet, we'll talk, we'll look through it. We've done some wonderful work and continue to do that, and want to make sure that we are being transparent and open about everything that we do, which I believe 100% that we have been. If you have a question with that, certainly reach out to me for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. That concludes this evening's meeting. If I could have a motion to adjourn.
So
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. All right, just a couple reminders to the board members. We have December 13th for our committee meeting, and the next school board meeting, official meeting, is on Tuesday, December 21st. That's a workshop at 7 p.m. and then the business meeting at 8. Thank you very much. Everyone drive safely.